कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय विघ्न विनाशक जय अनंत देव विघ्न विनाशक जय अनंत देव जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव नित्य हरि बो हरि बो हरि बो नित्य गौर हरि हरे कृष्ण प्रभु हरे कृष्ण एवरीवन
Mataji, thank you for the bhajan. And let us welcome Anil Prabhu for today's session on the chapter number 16, the divine and demonic natures. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So let's start the day with Mangalacharana. So before that, please keep all of your videos on and all the distractions away for next 1 hour, dear devotees, so that you get this complete knowledge in a way that it's supposed to be. So with that, let me share my screen. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So with that, so let's pay our sincere obeisances to our divine Acharya, His divine grace, Abhay Charanavrinda, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And our Siksha Guru, Sunnath Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So yesterday we did see about chapter 15, dear duties, where we saw that am I living in a temporary place like a hotel or in a home, right? And we also saw about what is the difference between the spiritual world and the material world look like, right? So whereas everything is of blissful and happiness in the spiritual world, but in the material world, everything is padam padam vipadam. That means every step that we take, there is always a distress. No matter what, how much our effort that we put, because the matter world itself is designed such a way that it is dukkhalaya ashashvatam, right? That means this is ashashvata and it's a dukkhalaya. That means its unhappiness is everywhere, right? And then, so what is the cause of our the getting born in the material world is because of a desire. So if we engage completely in our sense gratification, what happens? We would be taking birth after the birth. And we also saw that who is the maintainer, right? That how things are being up controlled, how Paramatma is residing in our heart and helping us to enjoy the things the way we would like, right? Even though the choice that all of us have is of a desire, right? But even to enjoy that, the Paramatma should help us. So that is how he's sitting in our heart, and then he's also maintaining the complete world, the whole universe, right? And then, so what are the essence of those three verses that what we saw? That the realization as well as the Bhagwan, the essence of it is what we saw. So today is all about the demonic, the divine, the demonic nature. Like we just saw that a peek into this today's session, right? So we are going to learn about what is that nature. Yesterday we learned about the devotees who is more of like who being attentive, right? So yesterday we learned about Qureshi, how that King Qureshi became Kuratalva, Ramanujacharya's devotee, right? So today we are going to talk about another devotee, actually of Ramanujacharya, who is Anant Alvar, right? So how, so compassion is one of the greatest attribute of a devotee, right? How compassion can help make progress in the spiritual path, right? So Ramanujacharya, as a devotee, Anantalva, right? So he being very close. So then he would, so all the devotees, all his disciples would be sitting Ramanujacharya. So then he would call for nomination among all the disciples, right? His students. That so who would want to go and serve the Lord Balaji, the Tirupati? So back then, so it's not so as developed as today, right, Tirupati? So it was on the hill, and it was completely a forest, right? So it's not that many people can go there, and it was also very difficult in the sense someone has to do a lot of austerity, someone has to take so a lot of has to go through a lot of hardship even to go there. So that was the kind of place back then, and he asked for who would want to go and serve Balaji there. So no one comes forward. So then Anant Albur, who is sitting there, he would think of himself. So no one is coming forward. So let me nominate because so this is an opportunity to serve my spiritual master, right? So he comes forward and says that, my dear master, so I'll go and serve the Lord. And at the same time, his wife happens to be a complete pregnant actually. So she's into her pregnancy, and despite that, he would choose that he'll make the decision that I'll go and serve. And then Ramacharya asks him to come closer so that he can give the instructions. He says that so every day that Tulsi Mala has to be offered, and then and also the flower, because there is a garden beside the temple, so you should make sure that you should pluck all the so we call it as the so not so blossom, right? So by the flower would actually blossom by the sunrise. So even before that happens, he should get up, he should make sure that he cleans himself, he purifies himself, and then make that garland and as well as tulsi mala and offer it to the Lord, such that the moment it is on the on the Lord, so the actually the flower should start blossoming actually. So this is how he gives instruction, and then he accepts, and then he'll start his journey back into the Tirupati. So then on the way, he finds that it's not very easy to climb that hill. Actually, he has to make a path for himself. So now he would so obviously he has carried all the now he knows that where he is going, so he's also carried the tools, everything. So he used that spade actually. So now both of them, both his husband and wife, they're helping each other obviously to make a path, and then he's actually digging through that mud so that he can make a path into that up in the hill. So then who is going to help him? So obviously there is no one else. So it is his wife. So who carries that mud, and then actually she goes to a distance and then she throws it off so that it doesn't obstruct their way. So this goes on for a while, and then at some point, so there's one boy who comes, and then he looks at this both of them who is doing all of these big task, everything. He comes and then asks, so can I help you? So then Anant Alvar says that no, I don't need any help, because obviously this is a service that what my spiritual masters instructed me, and I have to do it all by myself. If I ever need help, I'll ask for you. So then the boy, with disagreement, he has to agree to that, of course, because he doesn't need help. So he just wait beside, and after some time, he doesn't see the boy. And meanwhile, so his wife, who obviously she's a pregnant, so obviously she cannot do so like as fast as anyone can do, right? So, however, he sees that his wife is able to take that the mud in the pot, and she's able to throw that off and come back very quickly. That she's been doing very fast enough the work. So now Anantal is very surprised that how she's able to do it so fast, being a pregnant, right? Because she'll not be able to walk so fast, right? Like any other person. So then he goes and checks what's happening. So this boy is actually helping the wife, because when he said that he would not need help, actually he's gone to his wife and then he is helping her. So then Anant Alvar actually gets very angry. He says that despite I have told you that I don't need any help, because this is something that what I have to take care of myself because of my spiritual master instruction. So why are you doing this? So then, with that anger, what if he'll take that spade, whatever he is doing that work with, right? So he'll actually, he'll just show him, just to show him away. He'll just do it to do something like this to the boy, actually. So actually, that boy gets hurt in his chin. So then he would show him off. He says that do not help me or my wife. So we will take care of ourselves. So then they would, with all the hardship themselves, they would make a path and then they would clean everything and they will reach the temple. So then they would bathe themselves, they'll clean themselves, and then they want to go and worship the Lord, right? Just as per his Supreme Lord's instruction. So now they go to the temple the early morning next day, and then so by the time they reach the temple, so all the pujaris of the temple are actually gathered around the deity, and so there's a loud or talking, gathering, everything they are doing. So now everyone is worried that actually the deity, right, the Lord. So actually Lord's chin is hurt and actually is bleeding is what they see. Now everyone is so worried that how did that happen? So at that moment, both Anant Alvar and as well as his wife they reaches and they look at the Lord actually. So Lord is actually beating through the chin. Now you understand. So what has happened that devotees, whoever that boy who came to help Anant Alvar, right, is nothing but the Lord Balaji himself, because he wanted to help his devotees who are doing that work. He comes by himself to help them. And because when Anant Alvar actually shows him away with the spade, actually it hits him. So even today also you can see in the Lord Balaji's, right? So wherever you have a Lord Balaji's diet, you see that in the chin, on the around the left hand side, you'll be able to see that mark actually that what he has done. And even today, if you go as you enter into the temple, so on the left hand side, so there is a huge door where you can also see the picture of Anant Alvar actually not taking the help. He's asking him to go away, but it doesn't need help. You can also see that, right? And then this story continues from there actually. And now he is so immersed. So as per his spiritual master instructions, now every day he would make the garland, he'll make the flower, he'll make tulsi mala and everything, and he'll offer it to the Lord before even the just around the sunrise, right? So he's following his instructions. So one fine day, so then Lord Balaji asks Pujari, I want to meet Anant Alvar. Please ask him to come down immediately. So then Pujari sends the messenger and says that, so Lord has been asking for you, you have to come down. So at that time, so Anant Alvar is very busy in the garden. So he's actually making all the garland and he's preparing. He says, no, I'm really very busy now. So I'll come after I'm done with it. So then again, the messenger comes back and says to the Pujari, and then Pujari delivers the same message to the Lord. He says that he will be coming after some time. So Balaji gets very angry, actually. So he will just wait for him. Okay, let him come. I'll talk to him myself. So then when Anand Alvar finishes his work, so he comes back to the temple and then he presents himself in front of the Lord. So then Lord Balaji says that how dare you are. So I am asking you to come here. You are actually serving me. I am the master. So then I ask you to come, but you don't listen to me. So what kind of a manners is this? So then Anand Talwar, without any hesitation, he replies back immediately saying that, so I am not, who said that I am serving you? I am not serving you. I am serving my spiritual master, because my master has asked me to come here, do exactly like what he has said. I'm just doing that, and he has asked me to offer you this mala every day and before the sunrise, right? So if I have to come down to you and talk to you, I would have wasted my time. So I am, because I'm serving my spiritual master. No matter what, whatever may come, I'll stick to that word. So that is the kind of the submission, right? That is the kind of the service attitude that what a devotee would, the disciple would have to the spiritual master, right? So that tells us what one should be compassionate enough, and how one should be performing our services to the spiritual master, right? Because spiritual master is the one who gives us the path, or who opens up the door for the spiritual world, right? And that is the kind of the devotees that who would tell us how one should be serving. And then even to say about the compassion, right, of the devotees, the story continues from there again. And so obviously now, after he has done with all the service, everything, now they have to again, they have to go to preach to the rest of the world, right? So now, and obviously, back then, there was no vehicle or anything. So people have to walk themselves, and cross many of the paths. Not so easy to go. So they have to go all the way to different cities, villages to do the preaching. So then Anantalvar has to, now he has to move from that place, and he has to go to forest place to actually do the teaching. So then everyone gets started. So he'll pack all of his food, everything. So he would have made chapatis. So he would pack all of these chapatis, prasadam, everything for himself on the way to eat, and then they would start from there. So then, so they would have, through the day, almost like half of the day, they would have traveled a lot of distance, and then they have reached a place where it's a lunchtime. So now then, Anantalvar actually opens up his lunch, whatever he has packed, to realize that, so there are ants in the in the chapati, on chapati. So then he says to his companions who is around him, who is actually accompanying him, right? He says that I'll have to go back to Tirupati back, and I'll come back in some time. Now they are worried that, so we started almost like in the morning, and we have crossed so much of a distance. What are you saying? So why do you want to go to Tirupati? He says that, no, I have carried my lunch, but unfortunately I see that there are four ants on this. I'll have to make sure that I drop these ants back. But why do you want to do? Just drop them off here. Why do you want to go back there? So then Anant Talwar says that, no, I cannot do that, because even back then, so when he was serving the Lord Balaji has given him a boon. So he'll ask him to take a boon. So then he says that, ask me one thing, that what you would like me to give you. So then Anant Talwar has requested Balaji that anyone who gets born here on this hill and who dies here, right? So is to be liberated. So that is the boon that what he has asked from the Lord. So then he says that, now, so these ants belong to Tirupati, because they have been born. If I have to just leave them here, actually, I am, so they'll not get liberated. So that is the kind of compassion. Then he would go all the way from the place where he is, right? And he goes back to Tirupati. He drops those ants there, all the four ants, and then he comes back and he continues this journey. So what do we take away from that story, dear devotees? That is, so compassion is one of the very important attribute of a devotee. That it is not just about being compassionate about just our close relatives or our family members, something, but then every living entity that what we have, right? Not to kill the animal being, because so lot of us do kill animals, and then we treat them as probably for our sense gratification, we eat them, right? But then the truth is that we have to be compassionate, right? So that is one of the very key attribute of a devotee. And from that lesson we see that, so one is being very attentive and listening, right? Because taking that harinam, right, or believing in our spiritual master is how we make that progress. And similarly, being compassionate is another very great quality of a devotee. So with that, So we will start our today's session. So today we are going to learn about what are the divine qualities look like and how does the demonic quality look like, right? And what are the different outlooks of those demons and as well as the divine people. And then how do we navigate through these demonic qualities to become more divine, right? So we'll see all of those example in here. And today's acronym is DOOR. It says that divine and demonic quality, O for what are the different aspects, and then O, another O is for the outlook. How does it look like? So now we understand. So what are the different six qualities of a demon, right? And then what do they look like in the real world, right? And then the last one, we will also understand how do we navigate them, how do we diminish or remove them those demonic qualities to become more divine, right? So today's is called as Daivasura Sampada Yoga. So this is the name of the chapter 16, right? So what are those divine and demonic qualities, right? So there are 26 divine qualities and six demonic qualities. That's what we see, right? So divine and demonic natures, right? So how do they actually? So how do we get to them? Actually, how do they come to us, right? Because if we are to be a part and parcel of Lord Krishna, so how is that one can be a demon? And because it's all because of our desires, right? So the way we have made our choices is where you'll get the demonic quality, right? And it is also about our birth, like how we are born, how do we continue, and what kind of a practice that what we do, right? So all of that would define us on different qualities that what we get, right? So what are those divine qualities, right? So the 26 qualities of it, right? And then so all those which actually help us in making our progress in the spiritual journey, right? So that's all of them is called divine qualities. So all of that, what you see on the right hand side, the fearlessness, charity, purification, self-control, not being angry, right? So cleanliness, non-violence, all of this is categorized as the divine qualities. Why is that? Because each of this, just like being compassionate, we just saw that example, right? So being attentive, being of service to our spiritual master, right? Being so all of that is nothing but which is helping us in making a progress in the spiritual journey. So just like that, all of these qualities would help us being more divine, right? So then Krishna actually lists all of those 26 qualities, right? So then he says that fearlessness, that means not, so how does that fearlessness come? Fearlessness comes is not being able to do anything, right? That means not falling off from a cliff thinking that okay, I'll not die. No, that is not fearlessness. Fearlessness is about how much do I trust the Lord, right? So because when I'm dependent, because if you think I'm independent, right? So that is where the fear is. But if I think of I am dependent on the Lord, that I am being controlled and everything that what is being given to me is right for me, and he is the Father. So that is called as a fearlessness, right? Because if I have to so if you have to take a, so how does the baby believe in her mother, right? So that is called as a fearlessness, right? So that baby doesn't, so even when the father or mother actually carries the baby, or even when they throws in the air, so the baby would laugh at it, and then it knows that it do not have to worry because his father or his mother is going to take care of me, right? So that is called as a fearlessness, and that's the same quality that what the devotee should have, right? And then purification of one's existence. So we'll also see this in the detail that how purifying and where does that purification start is what we would see in the next couple of slides also. And cultivation of spiritual knowledge, right? Because without scriptures, right? So when we talk about the scriptures, it is nothing but Bhagavad Gita, Vishal. So we don't have to worry about whether I am reading all the Upanishad Vedas. So that is probably to the next level, right? But the Bhagavad Gita, we don't have to worry about, even about the Vedas, but without Bhagavad Gita, there is no question of life because it's going to tell us how one should lead the life, right? So, as we discussed earlier, also Bhagavad Gita is going to teach us three important aspects, right? So, one is so who I am, right? So, who is God? That's the second thing, and third one is what is the relationship between me and God? And then it also helped so for example, even when you talk about the fearlessness, right? So what do we fear of the most? The biggest fear that what each of us would have here, it's about the death, right? So we fear for the death. But whereas for a pure devotee who is divine, right, he does not worry about the death. Why? Because he knows that what for whatever reason I'm born here, right, it is temporary. Because the moment we understand that soul is indestructible, right, when the moment we know that there is no death to the soul, but it's only to the body, and whatever we are trying to do in this material world is only taking care of the body, not to the soul, right? And but then whoever combines all of his efforts not just to take care of the body but also to take care of the soul, he would be fearless, because he's not they are not worried about the death, right? Because obviously after the death we know that we're going to take another birth to continue in another body. So why should be I'm fearing of the death? So Bhagavad Gita also prepares us for that final exam, which is nothing but death. So we should not be fearing the death, but then we should prepare ourselves for the death. And we also have seen in the initial jnana yoga, right, that one who would, so the whatever consciousness we have during the death is what our the next body that what we would take. It's a very important aspect that what we have learned, right? And so during the death, we might think that okay, we'll take Harinam and then I'll attain that body of a devotee, or probably I'll continue my spiritual journey. No, it is not so easy, right? So whatever consciousness with which I'm living, right, that is the same consciousness with what we are also going to die. If I'm more worried about the wealth, the family, I'm so attached to all of it around me. So how is that it's possible that during the death I'll just remember about the Hari or the Lord? It is not so easy, right? So that is where we have to prepare ourselves, right? So doing those understanding the Lord, right? That I am not this body, but I am the soul, right? And doing that kirtan. So every day we do this kirtan, and why is that? Because we have to be in that consciousness to understand this knowledge. We need Krishna's help. So we need that Shravanam, right? So through that Shravanam, doing that Harinam is where we would be able to get that knowledge, and from that knowledge, we will. So it would help us to understand that we are not this body, but we are the soul, so that we can prepare ourselves, but towards end of this life, so that I can take that exam of life of death, right? And so that is about the fearlessness, right? And then charity. So people can imagine, or probably the first thing that comes to charity, okay, giving away the wealth to help someone. No, right? It is not just about that. So charity is that how we are serving the Lord, right? Because charity is not just about having to give away the money, right? So it is about how am I serving the Lord? Am I engaging myself with all the things that what we have, whether it is whether our talent, whether it is the money that what we have, whether it's a consciousness, everything that what we have. How am I engaging that all of that in the Lord's service? So that is more about the charity. And in fact, so we should never give charity to the unauthorized person, right? Because if someone has to take money and indulge themselves in any of the non-scriptural activity, like let's say that someone takes it and then he drinks. Actually, he uses that money to kill someone or do something, right? So the whatever effect of it, so whatever the consequences of it, so one third of it is actually is part of the person who helped it also. So that is part of the scripture. It's not that what I am saying, it is part of the scripture, right? So that's where we should be very careful about whom am I helping in that charity. So for example, if we get 100 rupees, if I can spend 10 rupees in in the Lord service, right? That giving prasadam or making that prasadam and giving them to our neighbors or to the people who gather them, right? And then if I'm able to serve the Lord with donating it to in the construction of a temple, so be it about anything, but then all of that consciousness should be not for the sense gratification. If you have to think about, I'm doing that for my name, because if I have to donate that so that I can get my name printed on the stone just in front of the temple or beside it, right? So no, that is not a charity, because I'm having expectation that will become karma kanda. Because I am doing that for my sense gratification, so that people can note my name, my family's name they can see. No, that will not. So we should do that with selflessness. So that is what will become charity. Otherwise, the charity doesn't have a name to it, right? And then self-control. So how do we make sure that we will not lose our compose, right? We have to be very composed, and then we should not get agitated with small things and petty things. Because if you get attached to material things, so obviously what happens? We get agitated when things are not in order. But when you do not get attached, so what happens? You'll be able to have that self-control, right? And then performance of sacrifices, right? So we also saw that detachment through attachment, right? So we should attach to that spirituality, so that we start getting detached from all the material things, right? And then study of the Vedas. So that's nothing but about the spiritual knowledge. And then austerity, like following the different festivals that what we have, doing the according to the scriptures. That's very important, right? It is not about that. Okay, so we just follow some random suggestion or instruction from one of the guru. No, it has to be according to the scriptures, right? Like Ekadashi Rata, that what one has to do, that not having to eat the grain, right? Or probably doing that austerities, or probably lighting the lamp during Damodar Mass, right? The ghee lamp. So we might think that, oh, so what can the ghee lamp, lighting the ghee lamp would do? So until and unless we do not have that belief, it would not have an impact of it, right? So we should always remember that. So when we do things according to the scripture, so that is when we are helped with the results also, right? And it is very important. And then simplicity. So it supposedly be like simple living and high thinking. But then what we do? We simply living and hardly thinking. So that is the result of it. That what we do, right? So what is a simple living? Simple living is that. So what is your attitude towards the life, right? So that means simple living is not that I leave everything, right? Simple living is not to have the lordship or the ownership over anything, right? Because we has to be so agile that I understand. Yes, so this is for my this is I am here, and I am to here to serve the Lord, and let me engage that. So with that, when we have that wealth, or we use all of that in the Lord service, so that is when the simplicity comes in, right? And next one is a non-violence. Of course, it is the same example that what we see today, right? So where Anant Alvar, so he was so compassionate, and then about those uh, ants, that he went all the way for almost for half of the day back into Tirupati to drop those ants there. And we have to be compassionate for all the living entities. So today's world, so what we do, we just take the bat, and then we kill all the mosquitoes, everything, right? Because so obviously we are in the Kali Yuga, and that is what of your land. But then the truth is that we have to be non. So does that mean that okay, we should not be protecting ourselves even when the thief or probably the robber comes in? No. So anything that we do in the service of the Lord, and with that attitude of a devotee, is non-violence. Right? We'll also see an example today when we go into that next shlokas. We'll also learn about that. And for the interest of the time, so we will not be able to go through all of these qualities, devotees, but then we will only read about the important ones, and would request devotees to go through this, especially about this chapter 15 and 16, right? Actually, which is very practical enough, and to understand what are those different divine qualities, right? And the truthfulness. Right? So how is one being truthful? So is the truthfulness is about like always like sticking to that, and then not lying at all? No, the truthfulness is about it should be pleasing to the others. It is to protect some. It is protecting the good. That is what truthfulness, right? So one beautiful example that what comes to my mind right now is, so there is a Muni, actually the Rishi, who is in his ashram. So he's in the middle of the forest. So he's taking care of all his disciples, and then it's almost like a Gurukula. It is, right. So during at that time, it so happened that the robbers are actually chasing a cow, actually, because Now they want to own that cow. So some of these demonic people actually are chasing that cow, and then the cow escapes from them, and it runs through all the through the forest, and then actually comes to this ashram. So now, so obviously it tries to find some place where it can hide, and then actually it goes behind that ashram where the hut is, and then it hides itself. So now the Rishi sees this actually. So then he would just doing his all the sort of activity that he's doing that yaga, then he's just sitting there, and then these people who are actually behind that cow actually comes and they ask that, did you see the cow? So now the Muni has to answer that. So throughout his life, he has never lied, actually, not even a single lie that he has gone with. So now obviously he does not want to lie. He says that yes. So the cow is actually hiding behind that hut. So you can go on, but then don't do anything to it. Please don't. So then, but then obviously the moment these robbers know that the cow is there, so they'll go to the cow. So they would take it and they'll kill it. So after, obviously after that old age, so this Rishi meets with the death and he goes to Yamadharmaraj. So then he goes there and then Yamadharmaraj is now he's supposed to give that verdict of where he should be going. And then he says that, okay, take this Rishi to the hell. So now he's so worried actually. He says that, so what are you saying, Emma? Is it really the right thing? Because throughout my life, I have not lied at all, right? Not even a single lie, right? Then how could you like put me into this position or put me into the hell? So then Yamadharmara says, on one day when you had a chance to protect the cow, right? Because Go Hatya and Brahma Hatya are probably the most abominable acts in the world, right? Right? The Brahman Hatya and the Go Hatya. Right? It's a very abominable act, and so consequence also will be very serious, right? So when you had a chance, right, to protect that cow. So what you did, actually, you could have lied. You could have, although you think that you are lying, but then through that, actually, you're protecting that cow. You could have done that. But what you did, so because you wanted to, because you had that self in you, right? The self was that I should not lie. That's I. He used that word I should not lie, and you actually get that cow killed. So because of that Gohatya, whatever act you did, so this is the consequence that what you did. So what do we take away from that story, dear duties? That so it should be so whatever truthfulness that what we think it is to protect the right things, right? It is not that okay we should lie every time. No, that is not the way it is, right? So it is for in the service of the Lord. It's according to the scriptures, right? And then freedom from anger. So why is that? In fact, anger is one of the out of the three gates to the hell. Anger is one of the gate. And why is that? Because anger actually would diminish our intelligence. The moment the intelligence comes to the knowledge, whatever we have, right? The moment the intelligence comes down, so what happens? We will not be able to control ourselves. So that is where, for a devotee or for a divine person, freedom from anger is very important, right? So then renunciation, tranquility, aversion from fault finding, that not to complain about others, but then thinking that I am nothing, right? Because the moment we have a knowledge, the moment we have a power, what comes? Arrogance comes. That, oh, I know something, whereas the others do not know. No. Because the very important quality of another important quality of pure devotee is about the simplicities that what we learned, and then we thinking that he is nothing, right? So what happens when we start getting that knowledge? We think that okay, others, because I am in Krishna consciousness for so long, and probably others are, so I am actually elevated, so others are very impure. No, by being in the Krishna conscious, one should understand that I am here to serve, because a devotee is someone who would serve the servant and servant and servant and servant of the Lord actually. So we should be able to serve the even the servants also, right? That is a Krishna conscious person. Krishna conscious person is not someone who thinks that okay, he is closer to the God and rest of the people who are there or probably are abominable. No, that is not the way we should be developing our Krishna consciousness, right? And then the gentleness, being modest, steady for determination, vigor, forgiveness. Another very important, right? So that forgiveness, through that forgiveness is where actually one would elevate his soul. So all of these 26 qualities that what we have, right? So these transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to the godly men endowed with a divine nature. So then obviously Arjuna will also have a question. So if such is the case, then I'm going to kill. Being in this Kurukshetra. I'm going to kill my cousins, my grandfather, my guru, everyone. So am I demonic in such case? Then Krishna actually replies to him, no, you are not. Why? Because you were born, right? So Arjuna was born to be a Kshatriya. And what is the duty of a Kshatriya? To protect his people, to protect his women, to protect his children of his kingdom, right? And who is he going to kill? He is going to kill the demons. And in the service of the Lord, that whatever you are doing, so none of that is going to have you any of the sins. So instead, you are a divine person and you're going to kill, and you are only a channel, right? And whatever has to be done, it's already determined. So Krishna says that, right? So if you think that okay, you're killing them, no, you are wrong. So all of them have already been killed. I have arranged for all of that, and you are only a medium through which we are executing this. So that's what Krishna says to Arjuna, right? And then so we would see some of these very key aspects of this divine quality, and then we'll go into the demonic nature, right? So free from anger. So if you look at this left hand side, what do you see? So there is a child in between, and there are both mother and father. Actually, they're shouting at each other, right? So if this is the kind of environment that what we create for our children, so what do we think about how the child would? So what kind of a child it would become, or probably an adult it would become when they grow up, right? So they would do the same. So they would develop the same qualities, right? So they would not be complete by themselves. So they would have that fearfulness. So they would not be self-confident. So they would not be able to control themselves the later part, right? So that's where the children should be always right, in the peaceful environment. And in fact, our Bhagavad Gita also says this, right? So up to 5 years, right? So the child should be treated like a king or a queen. However, a king or a queen is treated, no matter whatever they do, we should never get angry at them, right? We should always say them, even if let's say that even by a chance, so the child actually pours something into the laptop. Let's say that it drops a coffee or a milk, that whatever it's carrying into the laptop. So with the, we should not get anger at it, and we should tell that why it is wrong, that how they should do it. Right? We should never shout at children up till age 5. We should treat them like a king or queen, right? And then so from after 5 years up to 11 or 12 years, right? So they should be treated like slaves. In fact, up till 15, they should be treated like a slave. And why is that? Because so it doesn't mean that okay, we should not yield anything, but we should not very easily yield to them, right? For example, if they ask something, right? So we should make sure that they understand the value of it, they understand the worthiness of it, why they need, why they do not need, and after pestering and making them understand, yes, of course you can give them. So you have to treat them like slaves. You have to engage them in every work that what we do, because that is where they would learn. So how should I lead my life during that period, right? And after that, we should treat them like friends. So that is when the adolescence starts kicking in, right, in their teens. So we should start treating them equal and par, and so that we give them an opportunity to discuss everything with them, right? So this is the kind of a knowledge that what our Bhagavad Gita teaches, right? Whereas, so whatever we do is without having that knowledge, when we actually dwell or probably raise our children. So what happens? We are raising them in a wrong environment, right? So that is where Bhagavad Gita is very much needed for our life. Whereas if you see on the right hand side, so what is here? So there's a family with the Krishna consciousness in the center. If you see that, right, so beautifully, so the father is having that harmonium, and then whereas both the children, one is having kartal and another one is having doing that the blah, and then the mother actually she's also using the kartal. So if the children are actually being part of this kind of environments, so what else they would need? So the children do not learn by listening to us, right? They learn by observing us. So whatever best thing that what we do is what they'll also get it, right? So here it says the family that prays together stays together. So with that, we don't have to teach the children separately. right? So we don't have to go and preach them anything. So automatically they learn because that is the way of life that what we are leading. So until and unless we do not actually have to do it at part of the day or anything, right? Because if that becomes part of that becomes the life itself, right? So then obviously children who are being raised in that environment also will cultivate obviously the spirituality and then understand the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, what are 26 qualities that what we were seeing, right? So all of that would be automatically part of their life, right? And then so what is the demonic quality is what do you see, right? So the very one line, if you have to summarize what is the demonic quality, so there is no possibility of liberation. That means whatever binds us to this material world is nothing but a demonic quality. And in fact there are six attributes of that, right? Here Krishna says dhambo darpo bhimansha cha krodho parusham evacha ajnanam cha bijatsya partha sampadam asurim. He says pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature, O son of Partha. So whereas it takes 26 qualities to be divine, but whereas these six qualities can make anyone demonic, right? Because it's very easy for someone to fall down, right? And then so whatever so the moment it comes, so what if you see any of these things, right? So none of this actually would help us in our spiritual progress. It will be hindrance to us. So that is where a demon is someone who does not believe in the scripture. A demon is someone who does not help himself to liberate. He thinks that everything that what will be centered around him, whereas for a divine person, Krishna will be in the center. Everything that what we do around Krishna is around those 26 qualities. Whereas the moment we keep ourselves in the center, when we think that okay, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I am the maintainer. So what happens? These demonic qualities would kick in, and we have seen hundreds and hundreds of examples, right? Including the Bhagavatam stories that what we have been hearing, right, about Hiranyakashipu, right? During that age of Hiranyakashipu, so he was so self-centered. So in the mornings, right, instead of the Vedas, hymns, and instead of the Mangalacharana, everything, Mangalarati, during that, he had instructed all the temples, everyone to chant his name actually. Om Hiranyakashipaya Namaha. So that is the instruction that what he had given. So with that kind of a demonic person, so how would the kingdom be? So obviously, Yatha Raja Tata Praja, right? And that's exactly that what is happening in today's world also, right? So our leaders who are supposed to lead us with examples, so what they are doing, they're all involved in the scams, scandals, making the money, doing all the wrong things, right? So looking at that, we think that okay, or doing that is nothing, so I can do all of that and I can easily get away. No, that's not possible. If anything happening good to us today, right, it's all because of our past karma that what we did, right? That means whether we did good or bad, any of the austerities that what we did, all of that what we did in the past life is why we are happening something good. So today, if you miss the chance and if you do something bad, what is the consequence? Obviously, this is going to be consequence. It lead to us in the next life. So that results is what we are going to eat as a fruit in our next lives also, right? And then how do we develop that? Whether it's a demonic nature or whether it's a divine nature, it all starts with the birth and the nature that what we are brought up with and the practice that what we do, right? So that is where birth is very important aspect of the so one would demon or whether it be divine, right? So why is that abhijatasya? That means when so I don't know how many of you know about this. So there's something called as a garbhadhana samskara, right? That means even when the child, even before the child is born, forget about the being the child born. About the marriage, what is the purpose of the marriage itself? According to our scriptures, right? So even the real purpose of the marriage is to get a child who is in the Krishna consciousness, for the service of the Lord. I get a child so that I liberate that. The moment any child is getting born in this material world is because of the sin, the desire, right? So getting such kind of a child, we are giving an opportunity to liberate that child, right? So when we have that when we so that is the purpose of the marriage. Whereas today's world, what's happening? So we see even that the divorces, the couples are getting separated, even at, like forget about years. Even in couple of months, even in couple of days also that happens. Why? Because all of that is marriage, everything is focused about the sense gratification, because it only revolves around the sex, right? The moment when someone is only revolving around the sense gratification or sex, what happens? So obviously, so such kind of marriages would break, right? Whereas when we have that consciousness, whatever I'm going to get the child, so that is where this Garbhadana Samskar is very important, right? So what is that Garbhadana Samskar? Even before the child is born, even before the couples, so we call them as husband and wife when they get married, right? And when they get a child, they would call it as a mother and father. They are no more a husband and wife. Right? So even before they get to each other, actually, so they have to do this Garbhadana Samskara. So we have seen such beautiful example even in our Bhagavatam also, right? So Prahlad Maharaj he is in a demonic succession, right? So the whole so where he was born as a Hiranyakashipu's son. So obviously his father, his brother, his great grandfather, everyone was a demonic, right? But however, to such kind of a parent, Prahlad Maharaj, who is such a great devotee, was born. How was that possible? Because on the day when Hiranyakashipu was supposed to meet Kayadu, the mother of Prahlad Maharaj, right? So he was doing that tapasya austerity, and then during that time, so Narad Muni, right? So being a parrot, so he would be sitting on the tree and he'll be saying Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. So you'll be repeating Harinam for complete time when Hiranyakashipu is doing the tapasya. So during that, he will not be able to meditate upon the Brahma, because Hiranyakashipu is sitting there to meditate upon Brahma so that he can get a boon. But obviously, because Narada Muni is sitting beside and he's repeating that words, so then what happens? Hiranyakashipu will not be able to do his tapasya, to chant Brahma's name. So that Narayana, Narayana will be always ringing in his mind. So he goes back to his house. He will complete all of those activities. He'll call for all the ministers. Anything that what he is doing, actually he hears. Actually, he is doing that Narayana, Narayana. And the same evening, in the during the day, he meets with the Kayadu. Actually, they get together. And so, because of that consciousness that what he had is where Kayadu gets such kind of a divine child with Prahlad Maharaj, because of the consciousness. So that is called as a Garbhadana Samskara, right? So in our scriptures, in our Bhagavad Gita also, it is mentioned how that Garbhadana Samskara should be done even before the child is born. That what kind of a consciousness am I getting that? Yesterday also we discussed about that, right? Am I raising my child so that he or she can help me when I get old? That is a selfish act, right? But if I be being selfless, then obviously whatever duty that the son or daughter has to do to take care of his parent, to serve the Lord, to take care of the society or this nation, everything will automatically comes in, right? So and also continuing that Hiranyakashipu, how the Prahlad Maharaj was born, right? So even when she gets pregnant, Kayadu, right? So Indra knows that whoever is going to born of Kayadu, because they're coming in the succession of Hiranyakashipu, he is going to be very demonic. If Hiranyakashipu itself is so strong enough that is controlling all the worlds, all the 14 worlds, then his son would be more powerful than him, and then he is going to take up everything. So then he wants to kill that child. So during those days, even when someone is to be killed, they used to hold the dharma. They are not supposed to kill the woman or when the child is in the womb, because that would be become the this one bal hatya. So what they would do, actually, he would wait for the child to be born and then he would kill. So what he would actually abduct Kayadu and he will take her. But then he meets with on the way back to Swargaloka, where he is carrying Kayadu. So he meets with Narad Muni, and then Narad Muni says, "What are you doing, Indra?" So then Indra says that no, actually I'm going to kill this child because he's going to be a menace to the whole world. So then Narad Muni says, "No, no, don't do that. Whoever is going to be born here would be very sacred. So you cannot." So then that is where Narada Muni actually takes Kayadu and he would actually take her, and for the rest of her time when she's in a pregnancy, right, he would give her all the spiritual knowledge. Actually, during that time, Prahlad Maharaj, even being in the Kayadu's home, actually listens to all of those knowledge, the transcendental knowledge from Narada Muni, and that is how he becomes such a great devotee, even when he was born, right? And so that is the kind. So even in the succession of the demonic a person, it is possible that a devotee can be born, but then only with the right practices like Garbhadana Samskara, that what we should do, right? Even according to the Vedic scriptures, and so, like what we saw, that it is very why do we even get the child is very important for us to understand is right. And so that is where the birth is very important aspect. And then about the nature, now how are we going to associate with this? Even if you, so how are we going to raise our children? We just saw about that, right? So the moment we do not bring in that consciousness of selflessness, compassion, not being greedy, lusty, so all of this, when we do not practice, what happens? The nature also would be very demonic, right? And then how do we practice that? Because the moment we have got the knowledge, so today we have got this knowledge and we are learning through all of our chapters in Bhagavad Gita, right? All through the 17 days we are learning a lot of things. Until and unless we practice it, what happens? So obviously we are falling down from there. So that is where practice is very important, right? And what are other aspects? It says Daivi Sampad Vimokshaya Nibandhaishuri Matha Masu cha Sampadam Daivim Abhijatosi Pandava. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demonic qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. So here Krishna is assuring Arjuna that the demonic quality is something that which would hinder you from the liberation, but whereas it will anchor you for the bondage. Whereas a divine quality would always help you to liberate it. So it's just actually summarizing that what the different, right? And then this ABCD is very important, right? Association with the devotees, then the books. C is for chanting, and D is for the diet, that is having prasadam. So when you follow these four principles of ABCD, right, in the Krishna consciousness, it is ensured that we are always elevated. That means our spiritual journey is assured, right? And just do not read any of the random books, right? So it's when we read talk about the books, it is we should help us in a right knowledge. So that is where Srila Prabhupada's books actually stands out from rest of the books, right? So where take any books of the Srila Prabhupada's, right? So if a book, it's always about self-realization. It will help you to understand the yourself more better. So that's where Prabhupada book comes. And then even talking about the charity, right? So it has to be, do not have to be big. So take the books of like give someone a Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and even if you do not have to spend like 300 rupees, right? So there are books of Prabhupada like 20 rupees, 30 rupees, 50 rupees books are there. So we can just have them and then gift them during the any of the events, whether it's a wedding, birthday, or any of those events that what we do, we can give those books to so rest of the world, so that they can get to see this knowledge that whatever we are able to enjoy, right? And that is where this deity worship, doing diet, chanting this ABCD is very important for us. And then we should do this all of this practice, right, as an individual, because sometimes it might so happen that we'll not be able to practice it as a family, right? So that during that time we should not be think that it's an hindrance. Instead, we should continue to do that as an individual also, and we should do that as a family, because if we are falling down, so what happens? Our father, mother, sister, or children can each other can help us. So that is where we should follow this ABCD even as a family also, and we should also do this as a community. And why is that? Because only when we create such conducive environment, right? So that is where it will help us uphold that dharma, right? Because while it is very possible that we can start with an individual, but then we should do that as a family and as well as a community as well, right? So yeah, this anyways we have understood. And then what are those demonic people would look like, right? The demonic person who does not have a faith in God or super soul within himself, performs all kinds of sinful activities simply for sense gratification. He does not know that there is a witness in his heart. Who is the witness? Nothing but the Paramatma. But he thinks that he is independent, he is able to control everything, he is the enjoyer. So with that consciousness, when he does a lot of these things, so what happens? Obviously, he would lead into that demonic nature and to the hellish planets, right? And what are those demonic beliefs look like, right? So he says, I am perfect and powerful, untruthful, improper behavior, self-centered. So if you see all of this, right, actually it is telling us that none of this is going to help us in our liberation. So all of the demonic quality is going to anchor us back into this material world. And so, what is that attitude of that demonic person? So if you see here, right? So, all of these are on the sense gratification, right? So, if you see this here, so whatever the desire that what we have, right? So, that leads from one, in fact, so we talked about three gates to the hell. We'll just see that in the next sloka. So, those three gates, right? So, all of that because for desires, right? That lust, anger, greed, that what all of that whatever we have is actually lead us into more and more sense gratification, right? So for example, take it about chanting or about having that prasad. So all of that would actually help us engage the senses in the right manner. Whereas when we do not do all of this ABCD, right? The why that ABCD is very important because it would help us in getting those divine qualities, not the demonic, right? And then, so this is the demonic, right? It says, Atma Sambhavita Stabdha Dhana Mana Madhanvita Yajante Nama Yajnaste Dhamam Bhinaivida Purvakam. That means self-complacent, always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige. That means they're always self-centered. Everything that what they do is for the pride. They sometimes proudly perform sacrifice in the name only without following any rules or regulations. So there was in one of the temples. So there's a devotee who so there is it's a hot summer, and then all the everyone is sitting around, and someone switches on the fan actually, so that it is comfortable to listen to the class. At that moment, there is one person who actually goes and switches off the fan. So this keeps on going. That means someone will switch on the fan. After some time, this person is actually switching off. So then one person gets angry and says, "Hey, why are you doing that?" So we're switching on the fan so that it is comfortable. It's so hot. He says that no, I have gifted that fan. So what? You gifted that fan out of a charity to help someone, right? Yes, of course I do. But then my family and my name is actually written on the in the fan on the fan's blade actually. If only when it is stopped, so that is where my name should appear. So if that is the kind of an attitude with one would do a charity, so what kind of a result one would get? So we should not be having that false prestige or the pride, right? And then so this is where this is more of like a summary, right? So they do not follow in the Guru Shastra, Sadhu Shastra. They do not believe in the spiritual master. They do not have any regard for the scriptures, right? Because it's all avidhi purvakam, not the vidhi purvakam. Whereas the reverse is vidhi, is all about the scriptures. So, like I said, we should do not have to worry about all the Vedas or anything, but at least Bhagavad Gita is where we should follow. And then we should go to Bhagavatam because Bhagavatam is all about the pastimes of the devotees of the Lord. So, through that, we get to learn a lot of the qualities. So, that is where we should be sticking to the scriptures. And then, so these are the what are the results of such demonic qualities, right? And then we will also see here this path that whatever we are taking, right? So these are choices that what we have to make. Am I making that choice to develop the divine quality, or am I making that choice to develop the demonic quality? And the three things that which will lead to our hell, right? So this is the one. So trividam narakakshedam dvaram nashanam atmanah kamakrodos tata labho lobhas tasmad etatrayam tyajet. There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give this up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. So we should be very careful and cognizant of these three things, right? And obviously, how do we get them? Only through the sense gratification. So the moment we are actually have realized those three is where we should be very wary of these three qualities, right? And how to overcome this? That's very important, right? So we would be concluding this chapter with how do we overcome all of this, right? So result of not following the Shastra is what we have seen, right? So it would be a complete anchoring to this material world. It is a reputation of birth and death, and not guaranteed as a human being, right? Because this demonic things that what we do would certainly degrade our birth also. That means we will be born as more like animals or probably immovable things, like a tree, not just as a human being, right? So that is where it's very important for us to follow that Shastra, follow the, so whatever our spiritual master has given us, right? Knowing what are those principles of ABCD, right? So that we do not get into that circle of birth and death, but we start helping ourselves to liberate it, right? So here is the choices, right? The first one is all about getting that divine qualities and following it, right? We perform that acts of self-realization, knowing soul and the body difference is the self-realization, right? And then we follow the scriptures. We follow that our do the sadhu sangha, the ABCD of that, right? So all of that what helps us escape those gates and attain the supreme destination. If not in this Janma, but at least we'll be making our progress through the spiritual path, right? So whatever we attain as a sukruti, right? Because karma is something that you can attain, and it is only the material thing, right? Because in this material world, anything that what we do is we come, but then what we should be doing is akarma. That means not attached to any material things. So that is where we will start making that journey. If not in this janma, but at least in the next couple of janmas, we will be able to complete that and get liberated. And whereas on the other contrary, right, where when we reject the scriptures, when we do not follow those rules and regulations, when we do not follow the sadhus or the instructions and act whimsically on our own with all the self pride, with self centered things, what happens? The life would be very miserable. And what happens in the result of it? We degrade to the hell. So these are the two different paths that, and both of it, what we can take, right? So I can be more demonic and follow this the below path, or I can be more divine, get that knowledge, practice it, right, and make sure that I'm according to the scriptures. I follow the instructions. I read more books of the right acharyas, so that I can attain that liberation also. Right. And what did we see in this chapter, dear devotees? We saw that what is the divine and demonic qualities, the 26 qualities of the divine and 6 qualities of the demon, that how one would get regulated. We saw that, right? And then we also saw what are the other aspects of it, right? Now, what is the result of it? What are the consequences? How they would develop? All of that is what we see. And how do they look like? Actually, whether it's a demonic person or a divine person, what are the different qualities of it is what we saw. And then what are the different paths that what we should take, right? Through that ABCD, by following those ABCD, how one can control this vicious circle of birth and death, how we can control that, and how we can attain the Supreme Lord is what we also see. And what is there for tomorrow? So tomorrow, actually, so Arjuna is going to ask that more deeper question to Krishna, and then Krishna is going to answer them, actually. Okay, and then he's also going to tell us what are the different practically how are we going to develop those divine qualities is also what we are going to see tomorrow. So there will be a quiz link which will be sent, dear devotees, by after this session. Please complete those quizzes, and then if you also have any questions or anything, you can also ask that in the end of the quiz link, right? So let's chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra before we end the session. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. कलेर्दोषो निधिरछन् अस्ति ये एको महान् गुणा कीर्तनादेव कृष्णस्य मुक्तसङ्गः परं व्रजत्. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental knowledge, transcendental kingdom, right? Because we might know and understand that this Kali Yuga is all pada pada vipadam, right? That means it is a completely dukhalaya. But however, one greatest thing about this Kali Yuga is that even when you have that conscious, even when you are thought, right? So even so, whatever you can think of and also take that Harinam, right? So that can lift us. But whereas in the other yugas, what used to happen in Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and all, actually, so one has to perform austerities to get liberated. Whereas in this Kali Yuga, it has been made so simple for us that we do not have to do that yaga, yajna, all the austerities, Ashtanga Yoga. So all of this we are not required to do. If you just take the shelter of the Harinam, right? If you just chant, if you follow those 4 principles of ABCD, that is enough, and one can be free from this bondage. So with that, so this is our Lakshmi Narasimha Dev. and this is Gandharvika Giridhari along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this is the HPR temple. And if there are any questions, we'll be happy to take them. Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. It was a nice, very excellent session, I can say, on the 26 good qualities and the 6 bad qualities. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Any questions from your side? No questions. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Any devotee want to chant tomorrow? Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Any devotee want to chant tomorrow? No worries. Thank you.
We can also, they can also send us the nomination or
Yeah. Hare Krishna,
Bhargavi Mataji.
Bhargavi Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Tomorrow I'll take chanting, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Any question, devotee? Otherwise, we will end the session. Okay. Let us chant then once Hare Krishna Maha Mantra before we end the session. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. वांचा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री राधा माधव की जय, श्री श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण, डियर ड्यूटीज। कैन से हरे कृष्ण एंड लीव द सेशन। हरे कृष्ण लीलावती माताजी, भार्गवी माताजी, हरे कृष्ण प्रकाश प्रभु, विद्या माताजी, सपना माताजी, हरे कृष्ण किशन प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण नलिनी माताजी, वसंता माताजी, सत्य प्रकाश माताजी, हरे कृष्ण पुष्पा माताजी, बिना माताजी, जिना माताजी, हरे कृष्ण सुमा माताजी, हरे कृष्ण नैना माताजी, लिनोवो टैब, हरे कृष्ण नैना माताजी, हरे कृष्ण पार्वती माताजी, श्रेया माताजी, हरे कृष्ण नागराजू प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण मंजुश्री माताजी, हरे कृष्ण आकांक्षा माताजी, हरे कृष्ण राजेश प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण छाया माताजी, ज्योति माताजी, हरे कृष्ण रवीना माताजी, विनया माताजी, हरे कृष्ण सुजीत कुमार प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण नवीन प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण माला माताजी, हरे कृष्ण FB2231, हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण अनिल प्रभु,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji and Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्ण डियर डियर,
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु, हरे कृष्ण
हरे
माता जी,
कृष्ण
हरे कृष्ण
हर्षवर्धन
प्रभु।
प्रभु।
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, devotees.
Can I end the session, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I am ending the session.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Harshavardhan Prabhu.